Have we entered the housing market correction? That's what we're going to cover in this monthly market report. This is for you if you're a real estate agent, a financial advisor, or an attorney interested in market data to help you advise a client, or perhaps you are that potential buyer or seller looking for some direction. I'm Paulo Rodriguez. I've been a mortgage professional since 2005, and here is the market data that you need to make an informed buying or selling decision, or help your client do the same. We're almost halfway through the year and we're starting to see a little bit of a shift in the market. The talk at present is all about mortgage rates. If we think about the first 6 months of this year, the market has been defined by rising mortgage rates. As interest rates have risen, the question starts to come up, are we in a housing market correction? The quick answer to that is, no, we're not. Why is that? Well, the technical definition of a correction is any sort of a price decline of 10% or greater in the price of an asset. On the contrary, experts are forecasting almost 9% appreciation in residential real estate this year. And you think about it, historically, we've seen about 3.8% appreciation in homes in this country. We shot way up over that in 2020 and 21, but now we're still getting very healthy appreciation this year. So, not a correction there. The more appropriate terminology comes from Realtor.com. The housing market is at a turning point. We're starting to see signs of a new direction, but the ball is still in the seller's courts in most housing markets. Coming out of 2 anomalous years in the real estate business, no doubt about that. But human beings have a tendency to think in straight lines. And a turning point to some people might mean that we're going to go down from here as quickly as we came up. And that is not going to happen. The ball is still in seller's courts. We're still in a seller's market. There is still, in just about every market, more buyers than there are available homes for sale. So what does this look like? Here is showing time data going back to the beginning of 2019. That's the gray area, 2019 and the first couple of months of 2020. We'll refer to that as pre-pandemic. And the blue section is everything since the pandemic hit up until April, which is the most recent information we have. We're clearly heading back somewhere that's going to be pre-pandemic level demand. That doesn't mean we're going back to pre-pandemic prices. Nobody is saying that. But if you look at demand, certainly we're going to come off of the highs of 2020 and 21 back to pre-pandemic level demand. And by the way, 2017, 18 and 19 were great years in residential real estate. Let's take a look at existing home sales. This is as of April. The seasonally adjusted rate is 5.6 million homes. Again, let's look at 2017, 18 and 19 pre-pandemic years and 2020 and 21, which were an anomaly. So where are we heading with existing home sales? Well, back somewhere in the neighborhood of where we were pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic sales were 5.3 million. Most recently here in April, the seasonally adjusted numbers 5.6 million units in existing home sales. That's not total home sales, just existing home sales. So if we look at that from a demand perspective, from an existing home perspective, really what we're looking at is a situation heading back to where we were prior to the pandemic. So how quickly is inventory moving? Average days on the market across the country as of April was just 17 days. Still a very, very hot market. The average number of offers, 5.5 offers on a home. So as you come across those that are thinking about buying, those that are thinking about selling, and whatever headline-driven fears they are experiencing, this is the perspective I would bring to them to help them make an informed decision. So what's ahead for real estate? Nobody has a crystal ball in this business, but we can certainly do our best to look ahead and see what experts are saying about what's around the corner. Here is a quote from the chief economist at the Mortgage Bankers Association. Mortgage rates are likely to plateau near current levels. The financial markets have attempted to price in the impact of the Fed's action over the cycle and are likely to also price in the economic slowdown that will result. Once we are past this rate spike and associated volatility, the Mortgage Bankers Association expects that potential home buyers may be more willing to re-enter the market. So, home buyers may, in a rising rate environment, come off the fence. Some will go one way and say, we're not going to pull the trigger, and some will go the other way and say, we're going to get in before rates get any higher. But as rates plateau, this volatility subsides, and more potential home buyers will be willing to enter the market. So we've looked at existing home sales, and now this is a look at total home sales forecasted this year from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the Mortgage Bankers Association, and the National Association of Realtors. Anywhere from 6.1 million homes sold this year to 6.9 million is the forecast. And to put that in perspective, in 2021 we sold 6.9 million homes in this country. And most would say that in the current interest rate environment we're in, we're likely to see an impact on the market to the tune of about 10%. So if you take that 6.9 million forecast and take 10% away from that, that's 690,000 fewer homes we would sell this year. So these forecasts of 6.1 to 6.9 million, I think all have to do with what happens with interest rates, what happens with consumer demand, what happens with economic uncertainty. But that gives you at least some perspective on total home sales this year. Still forecasted to be a very, very good year for residential real estate. So here is the next point about what's ahead. Experts don't believe the market is in a bubble or a crash is on the cards like during the Great Recession. The nation is still suffering from a housing shortage that has reached crisis proportions at a time when many millennials are reaching the age when they start to consider homeownership. That's likely to keep prices high, and what's important here that I would pay attention to is that millennials are reaching the age when they start to consider home ownership. Millennials are working through their peak home buying years right now. They are the second largest generation behind baby boomers. They're driving demand, yet we know we don't have the number of homes on the market for the number of people that want to buy them. That's not going to go away tomorrow. And that lack of supply keeps upward pressure on prices across the country. So those that are wondering, are we in a correction? Are homes going to lose value? This is the real world perspective of what's happening with millennials and the demand they're bringing to real estate. So as we ask ourselves, how is the health of the real estate market? One thing that's on most people's minds now is, are we heading into a recession and how will that affect real estate? With the Fed's action of raising the Fed's funds rate to intentionally slow the economy, if that's not done precisely, that puts us potentially into a recession. I think every time somebody who's a homeowner hears of a recession, they think housing crash or housing crisis because of what happened back in 2008. This graphic is a study that goes back to the early 80s to prove that a recession doesn't equal a housing crisis. If you go all the way back to the early 80s, there have been 6 recessions in this country. And what happened? Well, you can see it in the graphic. 4 out of the 6 times, home prices actually appreciated. 2 times they depreciated, early 90s, less than 2%, which is negligible. But what everybody remembers is 2008, when homes lost almost 20% of their value. A lot of people were hurt then, and when they hear recession, they think homes will lose value. It's simply not true, and we can use this graphic to prove that. So that's a wrap for the June monthly market report. I appreciate you listening in. Forward, subscribe, share. I'll be back next month, but before you go, if you're looking to purchase or refinance or know someone that is, and would like a no-cost consultation with me personally, feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to analyze if your debt is structured in the most optimal way or if there's room for improvement. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.